I'm coming!
Your friends are coming with us! Reloading!
Got something for you!
Push him out!
Mafia, the old country, is in a strange place. It's got some decent reviews and some decent sales at launch. But we live in a time where if a game doesn't sell millions of copies at launch or doesn't get overwhelmingly good critic and user reviews, it really isn't considered to be a success. The main reason this game didn't achieve that level of success is because it has very little gameplay to offer, at least for now. The developer has said that there is an update coming later this year that will add more activities, but they will likely be patched onto the Explore mode, which is unlocked after you have beaten the main story. The complaints, however, are with the core campaign experience, which features a lot of cutscenes and very little gameplay. But if you're someone who doesn't mind this format, I would say this is actually a really good game. And that's the summary of this review. This game does one thing really well, which is narrating a very immersive story about a young criminal who rises up the ranks of a mafia family. It does not give you an open world, it does not give you side quests or mini games to pursue along the way. It does give you some collectibles, but apart from that, you are pretty much expected to stick to the linear path and enjoy the story. Again, if you're someone who enjoys that, then this game is great. I comfortably beat the game in around 11 hours, and that was including some time spent in the Explore mode, which lets you go around the map at your own pace. That was the summary. Now let's get into the details. There will be a few spoilers ahead.
Not a chance!
What are you doing here, Damiano? Answer me.
The story of this game has been praised almost universally, with most people agreeing that it is the strongest part of the entire experience. The reason why a lot of people love this story is because they've all seen this story before, probably multiple times. It is old wine in a new bottle, and that bottle is quite good. A young man unintentionally stumbles into a powerful mafia family and is given shelter in exchange for working for them at what is essentially an entry level job. He slowly earns the Don's trust, helping them whenever he can, and starts rising up the ranks. And conveniently enough, he falls in love with the Don's daughter because we need some conflict later on in the story. Eventually, he becomes the Don's most trusted lieutenant and is given the task of eliminating their rivals. If you have watched or read gangster stories, all of this would probably feel very familiar. What the game does is to execute this proven formula in a very interesting and satisfying manner, backed by some excellent voice acting and impressive motion capture work. All these elements pour life into some memorable characters. Enzo, the protagonist, is loyal and willing to do anything for Don Torrisi, the man who saves his life at the start of the game. Isabella, the Don's daughter, quickly falls for Enzo's charm and heroics, although admittedly she does little else than playing the damsel in distress. There's also interesting support characters like Luca, the Don's right hand man, and Enzo's mentor, and Cesare, the Don's seemingly useless nephew who steadily grows jealous of Enzo's growth. The story is spread over 3 years between 1904 and 1907. Rather than start things off with an exciting action set piece, the story takes its own sweet time to set things up. In fact, in this shooter game, you don't even get to handle a gun until the end of chapter 3. There are 14 chapters in total, not counting the prologue, and on the whole, action sequences are quite light and not too extreme. This story is a good example of how something old and predictable can still be served up as an interesting dish, and when it's done skillfully, It feels just right.
Ai posti! Pronti! Via!
Now let's talk about the gameplay, or whatever little of it exists here. For the most part, you walk around talking to people, picking up little objects of interest. Occasionally, you're given a horse or a car that you use to get around the map. The rest of the gameplay shifts based on whatever the story demands at the moment. For instance, in one chapter, you take part in a local horse race. Later in the story, you get into a race again, but this time in a car. There are shootouts spread across the story as well, and they are nothing too special. They seem to exist only to justify the game being a third person shooter. That said, there is some depth to the entire gameplay loop. You can buy various weapons, horses, and vehicles, although when and where you can use them is still determined by the story. Instead of skills, the game offers a perk system which you can equip using objects called charms. Each charm provides a certain in game effect, such as being able to carry more ammo or using bandages more quickly, and so on. There's no mission reward structure, so you have to earn your money by looting your enemies. And there's a charm that gives you more money each time you loot someone. Again, nothing too complicated, but the gameplay systems work just fine and keep the focus on the story. The one thing that the game does to stand apart from its peers is the concept of knife fights, which were quite real in ancient Italy. Gameplay wise, these fights quickly get boring, and if you're using a controller, you can win all of these with just one hand because all the required buttons are on the same side of the controller. At the end of the day, your personal tolerance for this kind of simple gameplay will determine whether you like this game or not.
Come in, Enzo.
I want to speak with you about my daughter.
This game runs on Unreal Engine 5. It's funny how that has quickly become a shorthand for games with performance issues. The good news though is that there are no major performance issues with this one, and the minor ones that exist will likely be patched soon. However, it would be nice if we could stop having these issues on most games that use this engine. Right, with that out of the way, let's focus on the visuals. The characters definitely look great, and their facial animations convey enough realism to make you feel connected to them. The background art is where I feel it once again comes down to personal preference. I felt the world was beautiful, but it also felt a bit safe, like we've seen this exact textures 100 times before. Now, it's not fair to expect anything else from a game that's based on a real world setting, but after driving out for the 10th time into a brightly lit Italian countryside that looked empty and full of dull looking trees, I felt a bit bored. There are some variations to the map, but there was never any place that made me stop and be amazed at the visuals. It's not a deal breaker by any means, but it feels like a missed opportunity to make this world appear a bit more interesting.
To let us know what's going on. If you'd got here on time, you'd know already.
What can we do? I will not forfeit this race.
I can ride on Torrisi.
Luca, why is this farmhand here?
There's little to complain about the sound and music department because this is what sells the story so well. The voice performances are done really well, and all the praise for Don Torrisi's voice actor is fully justified. If you really think about it after the game is done, the Don's character is actually quite flat and generic, but it is the voice performance that really makes him interesting. The same goes for the rest of the characters as well. and I am now quite eager to replay the game and try the Sicilian voices just to see what that experience would be like. The music is also quite well produced and sounds authentic to the time period, but I will say that none of the tracks stood out for me enough that I wanted to search for them once the game was over. Unfortunately, this is one of those titles where in a few years from now, you're going to see a lot of comments on YouTube saying this game is criminally underrated. The sad truth is that it has become more difficult to appeal to a wider audience these days. So, despite a game being well produced, unless it ticks off a lot of boxes at the same time, it simply won't sell those millions of copies at launch. Mafia the Old Country doesn't tick the gameplay box for many people, which is why it has got off to a slow start. But it has got off to a good start nonetheless, and hopefully, more people will decide to give it a chance for the excellent story it has to offer. Thanks for watching.